Well, just welcome to everyone who has come for our general pest webinar tonight. I'll probably just start the night straight up and just share my screen, and we'll go through it, and we can discuss the points as we go. Pretty self-explanatory as we skip through it. So I'll just do that now. So we've got our talk tonight, obviously in relation to our general pest service and pest covered and treatment areas. In that relation then, our general pest control services have evolved from simply spraying and praying, which has happened a long time ago, to a more strategic approach. Today's services focus on long-term prevention, safety, and using technology to identify and eliminate pests like cockroaches and spiders in conjunction with targeted products. So treatment methods, which we've had the whole time we've been in the industry, obviously chemical, non-chemical, and combining these with integrated pest management. So what is a general pest service? Which pests are we treating for? And with a residential site, what areas are included in the treatment? I suppose that in pest control industry, these are questions which you and your administration teams would be asked nearly every day. And there's probably a variety of different answers for these. So over the years, the general pest treatment has covered a range of pests: cockroaches, spiders, silverfish, ants, sometimes rodents. But what's happening today? Definitely we talk about cockroach treatments and our larger species, American, smoky browns, Australian. In relation to our German cockroaches, I think most of the companies and through the industry now are treating that as a separate or an isolated treatment generally, probably an added in cost as well. Externally, spiders, webbing spiders. Again, we talk about ground dwelling spiders, a separate treatment. Silverfish, yes. I think over the years, I think with hygiene and everything that's happening in the cleanliness of homes and everything, silverfish not a huge issue as much anymore. I don't get a lot of feedback from a lot of the guys out in the field about that. Ants, I suppose, then become a question. Is it internal, external? Are they covered in a general pest service? Could be an isolated treatment again. And rodents, yeah, generally I think would be a separate treatment, although sometimes over the years, I know a lot of companies there will throw them in and do a free rodent treatment to a roof void or something like that during the season, which with all the things that are happening now with our rodenticides, that could change the effects of them as well. So our treatment areas, with our discussion today, we'll look at a residential house or in unit as such, but what areas are we treating? I suppose the traditional, we look at the interior, the roof void, exterior of the building, subfloor. Are we treating the garden areas and surrounds? Are we doing all the fence lines? These are the questions that, I suppose you deal with your customer and you need to identify and I suppose specify in what you're doing with your service every day. I suppose all the extra areas could also increase your dollars per job, which is what we're here for in the end. So a general pest treatment usually involve a combination of inspection, treatment, now whether that be spraying or baiting and trapping, preventative measures to make the site or environment less attractive to the pests. Originally, and I suppose going back and when doing jobs ourselves and myself, I think a big thing that we need to look at first is obviously the inspection is a key to gaining your control and your treatment specifications. That inspection will provide you with site-specific requirements, pest activity and location, and then again, obviously possible hazards, or example there being, fish ponds and aviaries and that with pets in people's backyards. So our methods and equipment that are used today, I suppose internally, the traditional, I've still got my old Riga in my garage and it gets used every now and then. Handheld spray units, pneumatic and battery operated these days for internal perimeter treatments. Hand dusters, dust applications. Again, I know there's a lot of newer technology with all the dust applicators. And the old Makita blower, I think, is still pretty much standard, might be different varieties of them these days, but for doing your roof voids and your large dusting treatments. Again, cockroach gel and application of insecticide gel. There's various gels, and obviously you still have the old plungers and everything that come with the gel units when you're purchasing them, and our aerosol sprays used traditionally for flush out treatments of our crawling insects. When we talk about monitoring and inspecting, a great thing that we all have in the industry today is obviously the insect trapped and monitors. And we want to place these where cockroaches are likely to be found. Example there, under, behind appliances, fridges, microwaves, rear of cupboards, under benches, etc. It gives you a really good point of view of ongoing problems. If you are getting a recall and you have put some monitor boards out, it can help you straight away with your next treatment and follow-up services. Externally, I think a lot of guys now, and talking to everybody out there in the field, there's a lot of guys with backpack sprayer now. Bulk tanks, we still see them everywhere on the back of utes and in vans. Both still have a great part in your job. And again, our battery or electric dust blowers for your dust application for subfloors and your wall cavities. So it's a general breakdown of treatment methods and areas treated, but every site that we know, every job, there's no job going to be exactly the same, and you have to treat every job with its own specific details to be addressed. But an important note that we all know, all treatments with the chemical application, we must follow the label at all times. It's just an example there of our Delta Thor label. With our mixing rates, our label is law. So as we all know, we always refer to the usage booklets with our mixing rates, our critical comments, and one of that big one there, I suppose, with our general pest treatments, and it gets spoken about a fair amount of time, is in relation to our chemical application and not exceeding to the point of runoff. So what is to the point of runoff? I suppose it's a term used to describe at the point at which a given surface will no longer hold the liquid. So pest managers tread a delicate balance between applying enough product to ensure good coverage and control of pests, but not to use too high a spray volume that the product runs off the surfaces. So how do we achieve this in our everyday jobs? It's by selecting the appropriate spray equipment for the treatment required. Using the correct spray nozzles allows us to apply the insecticide with the best droplet size, which then will contact the treatment surface and will stay on that surface with no or limited runoff. It always is going to be an issue. It gets spoken about a lot in your training and everything, but it isn't important that we are putting, I suppose, the required amount of liquid insecticide out to our jobs. In relation to our treatment specifics, I suppose we break it down to the point of very little of, we arrive to site. I always made sure that I could always park in the driveway if possible. It obviously takes an element of being on the street and everything as such with chemical and everyone else happening around with general public as well. We meet with our customer first. Always take your torch with you. If obviously the homeowner wants to discuss with you or show you something, it's always handy to have that with you first. Discuss with the customer what their pest issues are and explain what your treatment method you're going to do. So with your site inspection, part of obviously with all our pre-work risk assessments and everything that we do in our day-to-day work, we identify our potential hazards of that job. So the homeowner duties, e.g. you might get the homeowner to close the windows for your external treatment, remove clothes from the clothesline, pet bowls removed, toys, etc. internally. You want that, the homeowner obviously would have the house tidy, hopefully it's tidy, knowing you're coming for the day, and be free from pretty much stored items around the internal perimeter walls. Big thing, don't forget to look over your fences. The neighbours might, again, themselves have pets, fish, birds, and we need to be aware of this. A preparation of equipment, our PPE and chemical. So we're utilising the appropriate PPE. We prepare our required amount of insecticide mixed emulsion for the treatment. So for internally, as we said, our handheld spray units, our battery blowers, roof voids, external, our backpacks. There's a few photos there of obviously our PPE, which I'm sure everyone is using while they're doing all their work at Monday to Sunday, or however we're working during the week. Again, with our specifics, if we start with our internal treatment with our residual spray to the skirtings, cracks and crevices, I've always, same with termite inspections or any internal treatments, you get into a systematic approach. So I'm always right-handed. So if I start at the front door, I'll always go right and complete that internal perimeter. That way we're not going to ever miss a room or a section of house. And then once you've done your internal perimeter, I'll then apply gels or into the cupboards and dust application if we need it to electricals, etc. for that. Our roof void and wall cavity treatments. I suppose depending on the manhole, this is always a questionable area in relation to treatment. It may be necessary to access the roof void to ensure that we're treating the total area. Well, in saying that, just dusting from the manhole, may not give you the best coverage for your treatment. And if we need to access the void, I would generally get into the manhole, work your way to like the furthest point, and then work your way back out. I understand, yes, we are currently at the moment, we have some varying safety regulations in different states, but it's a subject for another time. And then again, depending on the structure type, we can then, after you've treated the roof void section, I'll then look at wall cavities by accessing the weep holes if that's part of your service and if it's required. It's quite good, and you can get really good coverage with your dust applications through your manhole and into the roof void and dusting the weep holes. It's happened to me quite often over the years of doing treatments, and by the time you back out the manhole and packing up your ladder and probably then obviously moving into doing your external spray treatment, you can nearly automatically, if there's a bad cockroach problem, have them cockroaches flushing out and seeing them running down the walls and the eaves as you're starting your external spray. So our external treatment, we need to assess the property that you're going to treat. So as we said, if we're using a bulk tank setup, you need to work out that easiest way to access the whole sections of the residence. So depending on the site, and you may need to treat, the front yard and work your way down the left side. But just be very mindful that you've got to pull that spray hose around. A big point of view there is to the fact of I would always get enough of the hose out to basically treat each elevation. That way you're not reefing on that hose and trying to get it and around the corner and everything. And that way then there's always and I think everyone's probably done it at least once in their pest control life. You heard a noise and you've knocked over a pot plant or the closed basket container or something like that. And if you treat and look at every elevation as you go around, you can that way then just eliminate those things and protect your customer's property. But as we said, every property is going to be different. We're treating the eaves, the gutters, your downpipes, your window frames, external walls, basically external walls and brickwork. Again, with our exterior, it becomes a systematic approach. And I suppose eventually after doing a few of the jobs, you do get used to looking at it and assessing it, and you'll ensure that you're treating all the required areas, working down the side and then working down the side of the house and then working your way back along that same fence line. You're not doubling up and you're not going to miss out any sections. Pergolas, sheds, retaining walls, garden edging, the clothesline, garbage bins, outdoor furniture. You can treat these on your way around just in your systematic approach. And again, you'll not be doubling back to treat anything that you've missed. The last thing you want to do is get to a point, and if you are using a bulk tank and you've packed up and rolled your hose up and everything, and then the homeowner, Mrs. Smith, comes out and says, hey, you missed that back section of retaining wall or fence line. So with our external trimming, and we're continuing here. Subfloor sections. If the subfloor section is not fully enclosed, a couple of examples there. I suppose you need to look at this as part of your external spray and applying your insecticide to your bearers and joist sections, junction of your timber framework, around your plumbing sections. Just be very mindful of electrical points and electrical junction points. Yes, they should all be well sealed and protected from everything, but there are, like anything, different tradesmen out there, and sometimes things can be left open, and you just don't want to have any electrical faults or anything like that from your liquid insecticide coming into contact with it. So again, subfloor sections, if we are enclosed, yes, they can be treated using your dust insecticide. Again, via the manhole and vent sections if applicable. Ensure that you're getting full coverage again, just like we would with our roof void treatment. You might have different access through vents and things as well. But again, if you are using a dust for your subfloor, just make sure you're getting a good flow through to all the little rooms. I suppose examples there are different house construction types of being, in an L shape and everything like that. You want to make sure that you're getting it to all the external sections of there as well. So if we're completing our treatment, we pack up all our equipment, we complete your service and your treatment reports, recording all your site notes, chemicals used, everything like that. What chemicals used, volumes are used, everything on your service reports. I know different companies will have all different methods of this, but just it's in the basics of it. We want to know what's being used, the time of day that the job was done, everything as such. We want to then discuss and talk with the client, explain what the treatment you've done and any information you have regarding that. And a big thing there is obviously we want to leave the webbing and external areas approximately 2 weeks. Then the homeowner can then broom these down. Allow a couple of weeks for the treatment to take full effect. If the homeowner is noticing cockroaches, it may be because that's just been flushed out from the treatment. And again, I think we've all had the inquiry over the years with cockroaches on their back. It's evidence of a good treatment. The residual is still working. It's not that they've got an issue. So explain this to the homeowner and explain your service period. I know it's a bit of a term. People say warranty on jobs and everything. I think service period explains a little bit better. That'll help with any recalls or any inquiries that you have with the homeowner moving forward. And a big thing, obviously, we want to get paid on the day. Otherwise, don't want to be chasing money as we go through. I suppose with that, it's just a quick and a breakdown of everything in a general pest control service. We've got Ensystex. We have you covered. So just with our different formulations, obviously for cockroaches and ants, our Atrithor, the Bithor, Maxthor, a very popular external treatment for general pests. Also now with our Ultrathor X, our dust formulations with Permathor, our new Diathor flowable powder, our Aerothor being our aerosol, our Zenithor and Blattathor Ultra for our cockroaches and ants, Hymenopthor Ultra, our fipronil granules, and Maxthor sand. With our Fumathor Delta, our smoke generators, a little bit different there, which is something that could be used for probably other different treatments, but it can also be a good flush out service. And then as we spoke briefly about would have been our non-toxic, eco-friendly, our EcoThor Active Nature, our 3-in-1 insect traps and our insect monitors. We also have the EcoThor N-Trap and our Aquacell insect gun, which is the 100% non-chemical methods. I suppose from that, it's just a quick breakdown on everything. I hope everyone has sort of understands. Is there any certain questions anyone wants to put out there, or?
I was just going to jump in there quickly, Greg. Is that all right?
Yep. All good, mate.
I think one of the key things for me in a general pest treatment, and this is something I learned really early on when I first started doing pest control when I was 16 years old. So that was, just a couple of years ago. chatting with a customer was one of the biggest things for us, because when you chat with a customer before you actually start your job, um, it gives you a great source of information. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've had a conversation with a customer at a front door before I start the job, and they say, "Oh, you were seeing these little bugs coming out from under the fridge all the time. I don't know what they are." Straight away, you know it's German cockroaches. So that will adjust what you're going to do on that treatment, and it may mean completely changing what you're going to do. They may have said we want to come spray for spiders, and you're saying, well, you got German cockroaches. So chatting with the customer is really important. Um, a few times it's happened to me too, where I say, "Oh, have you seen any other pest controllers in the street?" "Oh, yes, we saw someone across the road just last week. They spent a whole day there and they had their drills out and they're doing all sorts of things." Again, your experience will tell you they've had a termite treatment done. So I'll keep a bit of an eye out for that while I'm around doing my general pest treatment. Not that I'm doing an inspection, but if I find termites here while I'm doing a general pest treatment, then that's going to give me an opportunity to talk to this customer about maybe getting a termite treatment done. So there's lots of different reasons why you chat to a customer before you start the job. And one of the main ones, apart from those two, is just first impressions. First impressions count. We want that customer this year, next year, and the following 10 years if we can. And that will come down to how good a job you do. But more importantly, their first impression or how they feel about having you in their home. That's a key thing. Remember, most of the time when you turn up to an address, it's not the husband who answers the door, it's the wife. She's probably like most girls, and not picking on anyone here except for my wife, but she's nervous when a tradesman's turning up to the door on a Monday morning, and she doesn't know what to expect. You turn up, you're clean shaven, you're fresh, you've got a clean shirt on, you're wearing clean boots, you're friendly, you're at the door. It makes a massive difference to how that customer feels about having you in their home. So just keep those things in mind. First impressions definitely count, and how they feel about having you there goes a long way towards them getting you back the following year. Sorry, Greg.
No, yeah, totally agree, Andrew. Yeah, because unfortunately, I think over the years, I think we've probably all worked at various, or a lot of us have worked at different companies and things like that. And I think we know that you could have a really good technician who may not explain his treatment as well as probably a poorer technician in his application, and he will get the less recalls, moving forward, because he's actually explained what he's done. And unfortunately, it does happen. So that the communication between, yeah, as you've said, is the big thing with the homeowner, and explain the service, explain what's going to happen, and just, I suppose, yeah, be polite to them. That's the best thing we can do.
Mhm. Yep. Someone's asked a question here about treating external walls, Greg. I'll just cover that quickly, and it's probably
Yep.
something that many of you might be thinking as well. He said, "Are we just covering the external walls, or are we spraying 1 meter up the walls, um, and 1 meter down from the eaves? What do you recommend?" So there are some companies out there who go out and say we're just going to treat around the windows and door frames. Other companies who say we spray every square inch of the external walls, every square inch of the fences, that sort of thing. I can only tell you from experience, I'm very old school. So when I turn up to a general pest treatment, I'm spraying for spiders. I'm doing a very light spray to the point of runoff on all the external walls, including around the eaves and windows and door frames. That's me. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about that, but that's what I do. But mind you, I've been doing this for over 40 years.
I have a question.
Yep.
I'm Joe
Yeah,
from Joe from Perth. I'm just wondering how many companies incorporate general pests with the rodent treatment. Or is a common thing?
I think some do over the years. I think it just changes a little bit, and I think also might change a little bit seasonally. Like if they're doing a general pest service and it's getting, say, to the end of summer, getting closer to the winter period, they might offer it as a bit of a bonus sort of special.
Yep.
But it could change every year, every treatment too. I don't think it's set in stone for any certain companies out there.
There's certainly no law regarding it. Is it Jamon? Is that how you
Yes,
pronounce it?
it's German. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jamon. There's certainly, and as far as I know, there's no rule about that, and it really is go by company basis. It was very common a long time ago. I'm talking 20 years ago, for people just to incorporate, put a few rodent baits up in the roof while they're doing the general pest treatment. Um, that's probably become
Hmm.
less common now, and people are
Yes.
seeing it as a separate
Service. Yeah.
treatment. Yep,
Separate service. Yeah. You can make money. Yes, obviously. Yeah.
yep,
Okay. Thank you.
absolutely.
I think also moving forward, as we briefly touched there with the rodenticide changes, that could also affect people including them into your general pest services as well,
Yep.
especially
Yes, you're
with
right.
what rodenticide you're using. I think one other thing in relation to whether you're spraying the whole external wall sections or not can also probably depend on what the surface is. There's different cladding types, whether it's a brick section and all things like that. And also what surrounds that. If you're walking down the side of the house and it's a real leafy, bushy area when there's, trees hanging over everywhere and spider webs everywhere, well then, yes, I suppose I would then treat that whole section. It's just another one here, Andrew. How many companies do underfloor treatments, and which would you consider more effective, roof cavity or the underfloor treatment?
Yeah, I've just sort of
Ross?
answered that. It really does depend on the pest. So I know you guys will know for a fact if you're doing a treatment and there's American cockroaches, large cockroaches, we know that yeah, they're going to be in the roof void, they're going to be in wall cavities if it's a slab on ground, or if it's a bearers and joist, you're going to have to check areas like under kitchens, suspended slab areas, because we know that, or even front patios, which are suspended slab areas, because they're really key areas for American cockroaches. But that comes down to experience too. Those guys who have done more than one American cockroach job will know where their hidey holes are.
Yeah, you need to, as we said there, you need to assess each job. No job's going to be exactly the same, and you need to work out the best treatment methods as we move forward for each job.
This is why it's really important for you guys who are just working on your own, who haven't worked for a major company. You can learn a lot from the old guys who have been in the industry. They will tell you some of these tricks and tips that you're not going to learn on your own. So really try and partner with someone who will be able to give you some good advice. I'd recommend that.
Just got a question there, Andrew, from Chris about how long do these products in general last on external walls? A lot of pests, 6-month warranty. Spiders and cockroaches, what type of warranty would you recommend? Again there, Chris, I think you're probably looking at the application of the chemical and what surrounds it. If we've got a high bushy area very close to the house, it's going to be a lot more activity moving forward. I think service period / warranties, as we sort of talked about before, yes, different companies will offer 3 months, 6 months, and I know that they're still out there, some doing 12 months, but I think from a point of view, if you're working for yourself, well then I would be assessing each site and putting the I suppose the specific warranty or service period on that job that you recommend.
Yep. Let's say, for instance, you're spraying the external walls with bifenthrin or water-based bifenthrin, like Maxor, for example. Very good product. It's got a great residual, but it's not going to be too residual if it's raining. It's obviously pretty clear, so you wouldn't do an external treatment if it's reasonably heavy rain. What about if it was a really hot day? What about if it was 40 degrees and you're spraying a dark brick wall? How
Well,
long is that
the
chemical
heat
going to
is
last?
the heat's going to affect it like anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So chemical compounds break down pretty quickly on hot surfaces. There's something to keep in mind.
I think Greg Lawrence just said, yeah, in relation to the critical comments on application areas, refer back to your the label and the usage booklets, and just you refer to them, and you can work your way forward and assess the different assistant, I suppose, bricks and different cladding services that we have these days, all the rendered products that are out there now.
Yeah.
Some are porous, some are not. So it's definitely, you need to work your way and understand that how the chemical's going to get to apply itself and stay to that surface for as long as it can.
Yeah. As a rule of thumb, I'm happy to for people to disagree with me here, but as a rule of thumb, I've always found that water-based chemicals tend to be more durable in a residual sense than solvent-based. And I've used plenty of solvent-based chemicals in the past as well, and I find that they actually work a little bit quicker. Probably a lot to do with the solvent, less so with the chemical. But it's there's benefits to both.
Yeah, but water-based, definitely it's a lot newer product. We can tweak them as well to suit things these days. Well, we certainly can. I just find them a far better product to be dealing with.
Yeah.
I think back in the day, Andrew, we offered a company over here to do a trial, the water-based against the solvents for soaking into the soil, and they didn't want to take us up on that because I think deep down they knew the water-based one was going to penetrate a lot better. So, but anyway, that's just the fun of the industry.
So a question regarding spray nozzles as well, which is always a really, really good question. I find a fine sprays always, I mean, I used to use, and I've still got a number 6 adjustable. Who remembers the old number 6 adjustable? Okay, I've still got mine. I've used it for years and years. It was good internally and externally. I know some people like to use a much bigger, I think it was a number 2 or whatever, and I think it was a number 2. It was much, much bigger. And it was a really coarse spray. You used a lot more chemical for not much more, if any more sort of, better result, really.
Better, yeah.
But certainly a fan spray, nice light spray, spray the wall to the point of runoff if you're doing external walls.
I think the adjustable, I think the old adjustable cone sprays, like it's people say the different fan, not jet nozzles and that, but I think it's an ease of application also with your gear to being able to have the different I suppose fan and width of what you're trying to protect as well, and do your treatment.
Yeah, there's a question from Jonathan too regarding UV stability of chemicals. Certainly, most chemicals that I know have had some UV stability tests done, but it really depends. There's varying results on that, so it really depends on what active you're talking about, what solution. But yes, the answer to your question, Jonathan, is yes.
There you go. Thumbs up from Jonathan. Hopefully, we've sort of answered a few questions, and it's been just a bit of a brief rundown with specifics and things like that. I think the main thing, if any of the guys out there, if you have any questions, reach out to your local area manager. Give us a call tomorrow, whenever, and we can always get in contact with you directly. I know the guys and myself all around the country. We're happy to get out and see you and meet you out on site if that's required, and that's part of what we do at Ensystex. So I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance. Thank you all.